Good morning all, and a very, very warm welcome to the Moyo Talks studio this morning. My name is Mark Bind. I'm an intuitive energy healer and a teacher and trainer of energy healers. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to our panel discussion this morning. I just want to make a few announcements before we start. Firstly, you can post your questions into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a chat box. I'm going to type something in there now for you, so you can see where that is. If you've got any questions for our panel this morning, please post those questions into the Q&A, into the chat box, and we'll be able to answer those questions for you as we go through the course of the morning. And what else is there? That is it really. If you want to ask a question out verbally, you can do so. Just raise your hand or post something into the chat box so you get our attention, and we'll be able to unmute you and you can just join the panel or ask your question, have your say, and we'll take that from there. So you are invited to participate. And of course, the topic for this morning is meditation and healing. So any questions on meditation or healing, or anything else to do with that subject will be welcome. So if I can just introduce to you my two co-panelists this morning. I have with me Cindy Holmes and Valeria Ronson, who can please introduce yourselves. And maybe Cindy, if you go first, let us know who you are and what you can do for us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful day here in Cape Town today. No wind, and it is just fantastic for the spring to be here. And I'm really looking forward to our call this morning, our chat this morning. I am an intuitive coach. I am the director of the School of Intuition and Healing, and I facilitate and teach healing, as well as I coordinate the tutors and mentor all the tutors within the school. Healing and meditation go hand in hand, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my knowledge and my experience this morning.
Great, thank you, Cindy. Our other panelist this morning is Valeria Ronson. Valerie, if you can please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Yes, what a gift to be able to actually share from our hearts, something that resonates with all of us that are sitting here this morning around healing and meditation. I work as an energy healer. I'm a tutor at the School of Intuition and Healing, and I'm passionate about sharing mindfulness and facilitating mindfulness meditation practices, and look forward to sharing with you this morning.
Great, thank you very much, Valerie. So before we get started, I'm going to ask Valerie to just lead us all through a short meditation to open up this morning. But I'm going to invite you all to just post something in the chat box. Let us know where you're from, where you're tuning in from this morning, and just say hi, and perhaps add something that you're grateful for this morning to help us raise the frequency of this group. And then I'm going to hand over to Valerie, who also teaches mindfulness and meditation, to guide us through the opening meditation. Valerie, over to you.
So find yourself sitting in a comfortable position. Bring awareness to your feet on the ground. So keep your feet flat on the ground and get a sense of your feet as they touch the ground. With awareness and gentleness, bring awareness to how your body is for you today. So relax the shoulders, the jaw, and allow yourself to sit in an upright position, but possibly softening and allowing. Not a rigid position, just a gentle holding of yourself. And I'm going to ring the bell once to invite us all into our space and bringing us into presence in the here and now. And take the awareness back to the feet on the ground. And if it's comfortable for you, drop some roots from the soles of your feet and send those roots deep, deep, deep down into Mother Earth. Possibly feel them anchoring you and holding you and supporting you during this time on this earth planet. Allow ourselves to be held, supported, and nurtured by that powerful earth energy. And then if you feel you need to, you can drop another root from the base of your spine and allow those roots just to connect. Then move that earth energy up through your feet, your lower limbs, your upper limbs, and move it up through the bottom of the spine and allow it to move up into your heart center, which is in the middle of your chest. And allow it to arrive there and feel its holding, nurturing energy as it arrives in the heart center. Then give yourself permission to go up above, as high as you can. Set your intention to connect with the highest source of love, light, and healing. So give yourself just a moment as you go up above and feel that connection. And as you do, you bring down that beautiful energy from above, that healing light, and you bring it down through your crown, through your brow, your throat, and you allow that to arrive in the heart space, connecting to the earth energy. And as we remain grounded, connected, and centered in your hearts, for a moment, I want you to bring awareness to the breath. Notice as you breathe in through the nostrils, the breath automatically arrives in your body. So as you breathe in, notice the breath arriving, and then gently breathe out. And as you connect to the breath, get a sense of where the breath is in the body, if it's shallow or if you are contracting in any way. Soften and allow the breath, this wonderful life force energy that is always available to us, to move in and out of your body. And if it's comfortable, place your hand on your lower belly. And as you breathe in now, as the breath starts to find its own rhythm, allow the belly to expand. And then as you breathe out, you allow your belly to fall away. This in-breath, this out-breath, right here, right now. We do not have the breath of yesterday, and we do not have the breath in the future. All we have is the breath right here, right now. And as we get comfortable with the breath, allow the breath to breathe your body. And as you relax and the breath is moving in and out, I want you to bring awareness to your intention again. And set the intention that you are now grounded, connected, centered in your heart, but most of all, that in this space as we all connect, that we are protected. And allow yourself to sit with that intention for a moment. I am grounded. I am centered in my heart. I'm connected to all that is. And through that powerful connection, I am protected. When you're ready, you can bring your awareness back to your body, that breathing body, and feel your feet on the ground. Feel your connection to Mother Earth. Get a sense of your sitting bones on the chair, and get a sense of your body, and allow your body to receive whatever information that might be beneficial to you today. And when you want to, you can open your eyes.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Val. That was such a lovely meditation. And I'm always amazed at the power of meditation to really just transform the energy. You know, having spent the last few minutes really sort of rushing and trying to get all the tech right and getting all the sound checks done and everything done. And all of a sudden we do that meditation and we're just like in a completely different space.
Amazing and powerful.
Yeah. So Val, you now teach meditation and mindfulness, but how did you start your meditation practice? How early in your healing journey did you start to learn to meditate?
Well, Mark, I wasn't even sure that I was on a healing journey. I think when I understand, I had an amazing mentor and guide and teacher, and his name is Dr. Simon Weitzman. And I like to mention his name because he guided me through a practice one morning. I wasn't even sure that he was actually introducing me to a form of meditation. He said to me, why don't we just sit for a moment before we started this discussion around my process of where I was very ill at the time, and can we just bring awareness to your breath? And I started to notice where the breath was. And the breath was totally contracted, and it was this upper chest breathing, and I couldn't even allow that point to the breath to flow in and out of the body. And for a few moments, as he guided me to the breath, I started to connect to sensations in my body, discomfort, and through that was my first touch of what meditation was about. And then obviously that was a process of developing a practice and understanding that mindfulness was not only about a formal sitting practice, but that it became a way of being. But what it brought me into was connecting to my body, and the breath allows you to connect to your body. And my body at that time needed so much healing. So that's how I started.
Yeah, amazing. And Cindy, how about you? You've been on this journey for some time. How early into your healing journey did you start meditating?
So my practice of meditation took some time. When I started the 2-year healing course in London, probably must have been about 15 years ago. I started that, and within that, there was, as part of our homework, we needed to meditate. I have an extraordinarily busy mind. My mind does not stop. So for me, it was something very, very foreign. And sitting and just being mindful was very difficult for me. So how I got into that was actually through visualization. When somebody said you don't need to still your mind, you can use visualization as part of meditation. And that thing really resonated with me. And whereas what was very interesting at the time is I was very business focused. I was very spreadsheet business, money orientated. And at the time, people would say to me, you're not creative. And it was very interesting that I tapped into my creativity through visualization. And oh my goodness, I saw angels as clear as human beings. I used to get information psychically through visualization. And it was almost like I had a film going on in my head most of the time through visualization. And that then got me to slow down and to connect with spirit. So it was a very different way. And now I'm able to be mindful, but I have to be mindfully mindful.
Okay. That's it.
I like what Cindy said. I have to be mindfully mindful, which is quite a significant way of being, is that you set the intention to be mindful and allow the mindfulness of that moment then to unfold.
Yeah, it's a conscious choice.
It's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got to make the decision and set the intention on actually getting into that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was a bit different because I'd been reading quite a few books, and then I got into A Course in Miracles. And A Course in Miracles doesn't actually talk about meditation, but it gives you 365 lessons. And the lessons are really meditations, affirmations, quietening the mind or focusing the mind on this or that. And I remember, times have changed a lot, because these days, like, a lot of people are practicing meditation. Like, you can talk openly about meditation with your friends and they'll know what you're talking about. But 20 years ago, people would look at you a little bit funny. Well, especially my circle, my friends are like, what are you doing? What do you mean meditation? And I remember when I was starting my meditation practice, I was dating a girl at the time who was very skeptical about anything that didn't come from the church. So I used to hide my meditation practice. I'd wait till she went to work, and then I'd sit and meditate and do my exercises, and then, and I never told her about my meditation practice in those days. Obviously, that relationship didn't last because, we were out of alignment with our spiritual beliefs. But that's how it started. It was just setting the intention to practice on a daily basis.
And Mark, I think what's interesting about meditation, I think when I started my journey, my first introduction into some form of practice, I had all these ideas that if you didn't sit in a way, and I didn't have enough information, and there are many forms. So there's many forms, and Cindy's mentioned visualization, and I like to use the breath because the breath brings me into the body. And stilling the mind, our thoughts actually don't stop. The thoughts keep going. And what I always like to notice is, as the thoughts go, if you can then become what we like to refer to as possibly the observer or just noticing. And I like to use in my visualization, I look at the clouds. I get a sense of the clouds, and I get a sense of my thoughts floating past in the cloud, and that I don't have to stay connected to the thought. So I notice the thought, and then after a period of time, because people say, well, there's never a moment of quietness, but it is incredible. After a moment in time or periods of developing a practice, there are moments where you actually just get a sense of this quiet way of being. And it's moments of stillness. It's moments. It's not necessarily days of stillness. And then you get up from your formal practice and then the mind keeps going, But it's just those moments. And through the practice, I always talk about through the practice, it's like going to the gym once although with COVID, I'm not so sure how many go to the gym. But if you go to the gym only once in 6 months, those muscles, the strength won't build. And I suppose it's the same with any form of practice, of meditation. If you keep setting the intention, even if it's 5 minutes, or just noticing the breath, standing still, noticing the breath for a moment, that's mindfulness, bringing awareness to that moment, which is quite powerful.
It is incredible how the practice actually starts to develop, and you do get better at it. I remember starting out, and the mind was so busy. It was like almost impossible to just get a moment's stillness in the mind. But as you practice regularly through the weeks and through the months and through the years, it becomes like so much easier. Like you can almost it's almost like turning a switch. I know exactly what to do to get to that stillness. It still takes effort and it still takes intention, but it is so much easier now than it was.
And they talk about meditation not so much as being the doing, but allowing it to be the being. And they talk about a formal sitting practice, and yes, that's what some people we develop over time. And then as you develop, it becomes effortless. So what you're talking about. So there's not as much efforting. It's being with what's happening with you now. And that's what mindfulness is about. It becomes in everything that you become aware of and you notice. In that moment, it's not necessarily the effort always, it's the allowing of being into that moment. And that's what the practice then can develop into. But I remember there's this teacher called Dr. John Kabat-Zinn who taught mindfulness in America, and he brought mindfulness into the hospitals. And he used to say about, I did many of his retreats and, listened to him. And he used to say that if you sit today, or if you practice a meditation today, he used the word, I will say, will your butt be on the cushion tomorrow? So you need to get back to it on a regular basis. So it's not just enough for today, and that's what it becomes. It's that you set the intention to get back to it, get back to your visualization, get back to the breath. And that's what meditation is about.
Yeah, so maybe we can ask our audience to tell us about your meditation practice. Maybe just type it into the chat box. Let us know how often you meditate, how you're finding your meditation practice, what you're struggling with in your meditation, and just put that into the chat box and we can bring this to the panel. Cindy, tell us about your meditation practice. I mean, you like visualization. Are there any other tools that you like to use?
So for my meditation practice, the other thing I love to do is walking and doing a mindful walk, because again, I need to kind of be distracted from my mental body of the thoughts and the business, what's going on and what I need to do and all of that. And although the work that I do is conscious, my mind is still very busy tuning into all of those things. And sometimes it's in the not thinking that you get the nuggets. So while I am walking, and recently I've been doing some hiking. It's about being very present about the footsteps I'm taking. It's being very present around the nature, the bird calls, and really focusing on those. That is helping me still the mind. So that is important. I do a morning meditation where it is a visualization, and I have, depending on what it is, I might listen to an audio where I get somebody to help clear my energy levels. Or if there's something specific that has come up in one of my chakras, then I will do a meditation on my own and focus on that issue. What is important in my daily meditation is that I do a form of gratitude, I do a form of forgiveness, and I do a form of sending love and healing to my loved ones and the planet.
Okay.
So that is my genres.
Yeah. So I see there's a question from Sharifa in the audience. Do you always get insights in your meditations?
No.
No.
No, I don't either. Sometimes it's really just about the stillness.
Yeah, and I think I like to, I love what Cindy said about the mindful walking. I think that's such a powerful tool, is when we feel our feet on the ground. And in meditation, there is sound. There's the feet on the ground. There's connecting to the earth. There's that observing the steps as you go, which is so powerful because it brings you right into the present moment. And there's times when I sit in meditation and I work with intention around, for myself as well, with gratitude, sending love and light, all the things that I do. And sometimes it's a guided, and sometimes it's just noticing the breath. I always have a notepad, like my journal. And there might be an insight that arrives, and I might just jot it down. It can just be one word. And other times, there's nothing. And other times when I sit, if I was going to arrive in this formal, what I call a formal, deliberate sitting practice, it's not easy always just to be there. I sometimes feel this is not where I want to be right here, right now. But it's what you keep setting the intention, just this moment, just this moment. And sometimes it could be 10 minutes, sometimes it could be 20 minutes, sometimes it can be 30 minutes. But the insights that you then do receive at times are quite phenomenal over the years as you go back and reflect on them and see, wow, that I did receive. But it's not always available to you, and it doesn't always arrive in that way.
So I see Stephen saying that he uses breath work to drop into his meditation, and he does a daily meditation and sometimes just for a few minutes. But I find breath work is quite a useful tool for me to something to focus on, something to keep the mind occupied with, and a tool to take myself into that state. Do you guys use breath work in your meditations?
So for me, I start my meditation with, and maybe we can do that, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 6, because that for me takes me from this state into a theta state. You know what I mean? It just by doing that, and I think that, I don't know if you want to lead that, Val, just to take us into that. If we do that 3 or 4 times, I think it's quite a good way, because I see there's a question there.
From Lucinda, struggling to get the mind to focus. So the breath is a great tool to focus the mind, because it gives your mind something to think about. So it's not thinking about everything else in your day. So you intentionally think about your breath, and that in itself quietens the mind and takes you into the alpha state. So Val, maybe just take us through.
I think that would be lovely. So once again, find your feet on the ground, ensure you're comfortable. And as I started earlier, if it's comfortable for you, just draw your eyes down. And then notice where the breath is in the body. Get a sense. The breath makes sound. The breath has movement. Bring awareness to where you are feeling or sensing the breath. If it is in the nostrils, allow it to move in and out. Or maybe it's in this upper chest and it feels very shallow. And with intention, as we're going to move into a deeper breath way of breathing, get a sense of the belly again. And then on the next in-breath, I'm going to count you in. You breathe in, breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it is available to you, hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then slowly breathe out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there's a pause in between the breath. Notice if you can notice that little pause moment, and then the breath arrives again, breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time, let's breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And in these moments when the breath has left, allow that breath to continue to move through your body. And for a moment, notice where your mind goes. It's what they call that monkey mind. Has it kicked in? What's coming next? What's she going to say now? And if that's what's happening, where the mind has taken you on a journey, like a train, gently bring your awareness back to the breath. This in-breath, this out-breath. And the breath has the capacity to relax the body, and it impacts your nervous system, and the breath allows the nutrients to flow through your body. So let's just sit for a moment, allowing that breath. No judgment, because often, oh, Valerie, we couldn't stay with you, we couldn't do this. That's what you can do right here in this moment. It's about allowing. Just kindness to self from a heart space. And when your breath has found its own rhythm, gently open your eyes and ensure that you're grounded and back in your space.
Thank you, Val. A nice exercise for everybody and just a useful tool to bring us into the presence once again. So Lucinda, I hope that's helped you. And I think if you find yourself struggling with meditation, just do that exercise again and you'll find that just following your breath in that way will help amplify your meditation practice. So now what I'm interested in, guys, is how meditation has assisted with your healing journey. How has meditation helped healing your past and any of your traumas that you've suffered?
Wow. So I think I'm going to talk about how visualization has helped me, because that was really for me, Mark, the key to getting to my healing, to focusing on what was going on in my chakra system, what was going on in my energy bodies, also visualizing grounding. And I always come back to healing and energy management. I don't have an option but to go to that, as I call it, that old chestnut, that 101. I used to be out my body. I was never in my body. I was wild. I drank, I smoked, and I was just out there all the time. And so coming back into my body and understanding my energy. And I needed to do that through visualization. And that is a form of meditation. So I had to come back into my body. I had to be grounded. I had to work on that chakra system and then heal each and every single one of my chakras. And through meditation of the base, of the sacral, and working through those on a regular, so if it was the week or the month on the base, I always had to come back to the base. And live in this incarnation. So through those meditations of the chakras, I healed a lot of myself. I healed a lot of my trauma. I went deep into those chakras because those chakras hold a hell of a lot of information around what is going on. Energy holds on. It was then healing the different bodies, the four energy bodies, the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And those are continual working through those. But then, so through that process of meditation, I learned to heal my life. And I learned to heal my energy. And that was the way that I got to understand energy, was through meditation. So they go hand in hand. And getting to know my energy and understanding the disease and the blocks within my energy, and through meditation allowing those to heal, was the key to expand my energy and allow myself to just have a better life. Really, a better life through that.
How about you, Val?
Well, that's such a beautiful example of how Cindy came to her path. Mine's very different. I was out of my body, very out of my body. I was out of my body through illness. And what the breath and meditation did, once I understood that I was meditating, it allowed me to connect to my body. And for so many years, I had shut down my physical body through trauma and through whatever had happened to me. And obviously I was working with somebody, because otherwise I don't believe I would be alive today. And it was a powerful healing journey, but it took quite a few years. And as I started to connect to the body, the physical wounds of illness that I had started to show themselves to me. And I was able to then, with good guidance and mentorship and help, connect to that, understand what had happened, to allow that to shift and move. So that was a big process for me. And I never forget being introduced to what they call in mindfulness the body scan. And I started working with the body scan and connecting to the different sensations and realizing that there were different sensations in each side of my body. And at one time, the left side was so shut down, and then understanding the left to the right. And it was really a powerful healing process, which took many years. And I then started realizing there was more. So obviously I had this beautiful spiritual connection now, understanding, and I was finding my healing process on a physical level, but it started to develop into a spiritual connection to that powerful healing energy of all that is. And I'm very grateful to my mentor and guide, because although he's a general practitioner and teaches mindfulness, he was really in tune with the mind-body connection, and as well as the connection to spirit. So he allowed me to explore. And I was very drawn and very inquisitive what else there was. I knew there was more. And that's when I found the School of Intuition and Healing. And I had read about the chakra system and the energy system, and I touched on that. But I needed to really go and immerse myself in that for 2 years of studying with the school. And I started to understand the chakras and how this was connected and my energy body. And I remember saying at my accreditation, the biggest gift out of the School of Intuition and Healing in my learning was understanding that I needed to ground, I needed to connect, and I needed to protect. So my healing journey started on a physical level and then moved to a spiritual level and an energetic level. And I have to reflect back. This month, on the 8th of November, 13 years ago, I went into hospital for surgery after all this processing of my trauma, which was stuck in my body, which is a very intense, long story. And I will be sharing that one of these days moving forward. And I went in for surgery and I weighed 42 kilograms. And the anesthetist looked at the doctors and looked at me and was convinced I was anorexic. But this is what trauma had done to my physical body. And so physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, so my healing journey probably started 18 years ago. I have been well physically for 13 years. So it's with an open, grateful heart that I've now become aware of that struggle and the gift that it has given me in my process. So that's how I started, and I'm very grateful to be sitting here today to sharing with you what healing can do on many levels.
Wow, thanks, Val. That's a powerful testament to what healing and meditation can actually do, you know, going through that process. I know for me, learning, you spoke about the body scan. And for me, this sort of sensing of the body, because, you know, unlike Cindy, who's got great skills of clairvoyance, I kind of work more with clairsentience, so just feeling things in the body and in the aura. And I really, part of my daily practice is actually to tune into the body, tune into the aura, and just sort of like really feel what it feels like, because you can feel where the blockages are. You can feel where the trauma is held within the energy. And if you can feel it, you can go into it. And if you can go into it, you can heal it. So that's the one thing that I like to do on a daily basis. The other thing that really, really shifted for me when I started meditation was becoming aware of my thoughts. There's that saying, you don't have to believe everything you think. And A Course in Miracles puts it another way, not all of my thoughts are my own. And as you become aware of your thoughts, you can choose to surrender that thought. Because if you really start to focus on your thinking and you start to notice the thoughts that are coming into your head, you can choose to push that thought out of your head. If there's a thought that you don't want to entertain, and there are many thoughts that you actually don't want to entertain, through meditation, you can become aware of that thought and you can put it aside. And the power to choose your thoughts is immense. It is really, really powerful. So I'm going to just remind our audience that they can put their questions into the chat box. So if you've got any questions for the panel, post your questions into the chat box and we'll be able to pick those questions up from the front chat.
So Mark, what is quite funny for me is I always say, think before you think. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you say, well, how, for me, when I first thought that, when I heard that, and it was on the healing course when somebody said, you need to manage your thoughts. I said, well, how the hell do you think before you think? And that took me a long time to kind of get that right. And I'm not sure how I did it, but I do know now that when negative thoughts come to me, what I do is I pause, I breathe, and I say something. I go, first of all, is the thought true? Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But then I ask a question. Is this thought serving me? And if the thought is not serving me, I let it go because it's a thought. It is not real. And what's interesting is it's a bit like meditation. Mm-hmm. It's a bit like mindfulness. The more you practice that pause, breathe. Is it true? Yes or no? Most importantly, is it serving me? Let it go.
Yeah, that's an important note, that sort of pause. Is this thought serving me? That's such a powerful tool. I also, looking back, I'm not sure when it was that, or exactly how it happened, that I shifted from having these thoughts running my mind to me running my mind, but somewhere along the line in that meditation practice, things started to change gradually. And looking back, I can see what a big shift there was. If I remember how crazy the mind was before I started to meditate to how it is now. But I can't remember the exact moment when it shifted, because I don't think it was an exact moment. I think it was a gradual process. And I think that it's the gradual step-by-step progress that we make is the progress that we keep. If there's a sudden shift without effort, we can lose it. You know, and sometimes you see that in people who have a sudden spiritual awakening without the efforts, they can go back to where they were. But if you are putting in effort on a daily basis, those gains are kept. Those gains you maintain, and it's held by your daily practice.
Yeah, Mark, for me, I think you've just brought up such a good point about healing and transformation. The problem is with healing and transformation is that often we don't notice it ourselves. And we forget how we were beforehand. So we forget that we had all these thoughts. We forget what it's like. And I always talk about something. I always say to people, just keep pushing the coin. Just keep pushing the coin up. Just keep at it. And sometimes the coin slips down, and then you push it up and it slips down. But the one thing about the coin, it never goes further down than what you are. You're always expanding if you're focusing on being in your heart, doing the right thing, doing the healing. And one day you just get there. And you don't even notice it. And then you'll go, oh my goodness, I've done that. So be mindful about where you were and each day the progress, because it's not. Transformation takes a period of time. Healing is done over time. Meditation practices to change your life are done over time.
Yeah, wise words, Cindy, and I think that's important to note. But there's an interesting question here from Lucinda. So thank you, Lucinda. The question is, how would I know where to start with the process of healing myself? This is a very good question. Where, if you could give somebody advice, maybe Val, you start, where would you suggest somebody actually starts this process?
What I'd like to suggest, Mark, And I always like to reflect on my own process and my own experience, because that's embodied in who I am. My first suggestion is connect to your body. So get a sense of your body. And in those moments of connecting to the body, get a sense, start getting a sense if there's anything that you can pinpoint. And as you do that, then just free write afterwards. Make a few, like whatever you sense, just write it down. And that starts reflecting back to you where you are at. You have to find out where you are at on many levels. And that might need assistance. So it might be guided towards an energy healer, or it might be guided towards somebody who can facilitate and sit with you one-on-one, or it might be guided towards that you might actually need some form of therapeutic discussion with somebody. But you need to establish where you are at. And the body speaks to you. The body will tell you where you are now, because that brings in your past, because what's going on in your body is part of your past. And then the body will tell you where you're at now. And then you can move from your physical body into your energetic body. And that might need guidance. So my process was connecting to my physical body. That's where I got started. And then I was able to start to understand how the energetic body and the physical body are all connected. Nothing is separate. So that is where I started. And I think for me, that's a powerful connection, because we've come into this world in this body. So we need to connect to this body in the here and now. And you might not be able to sit for a long time, but just for a few moments. Get a sense, touch your body. What's going on for me here? Scan the body and then write freely. Because writing freely, when you put it on a piece of paper and you reflect back on it, you might write things that you weren't even aware of. So allow yourself and give yourself permission to do that for yourself. I don't know if that's beneficial for Lucinda.
Yeah, that's useful, Val, because I see the body as the barometer.
Yeah.
The body is going to tell you what is happening. The other thing that I would do on top of sensing the body would be to look at how the world is reflecting my energy back to me. So for me, there were a couple of things that were being reflected back to me. I was doing a lot of meditation and consciousness work, like studying consciousness, but what was being reflected back to me was that I was out of alignment with myself, because financially I was struggling, my business was failing, and that was really just like showing me there's something wrong within the consciousness. There's something that needs to be healed, and the world was reflecting it back to me. Now, this happens differently for different people. Sometimes it's reflected back in career. Sometimes it's reflected back in romantic relationships. Sometimes it's reflected back in family relationships. But on top of the physical body and how your body feels, the world will be reflecting back to you that which needs to be healed. Your triggers will show you what needs to be healed.
So that's really interesting, Mark, because mine wasn't business. The one thing that I did keep, and the one common denominator that I did have, is that I always had a great career. And that's not where it showed me, but it definitely showed me in personal relationships. And there was a college in that. And also, my drinking. It was, I just drank a huge amount. And was out of my body a lot. So for me, the key to my healing was coming back into my body. So the physical into my body, grounding my body, and then protecting my energy. And as I was able to do that, and as I was able to face my truth around what was going on, I was then able to look at how and the reasons for why I'd been drinking, and then I healed those. So it was about coming back into the body and working with the healer and looking at that. But energy management, for me, the start is through looking at my own energy and managing that. Because as you come into the body, so you will be revealed the next step and the next step and the next step. So energy management for me is 101.
Yeah. So look, I can relate to the drinking, because in my 20s and early 30s, I drank far more than I should have, and relationships as well. What was reflected back to me through relationships in those early years was codependency, which is something else that I needed to heal on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what you say about then, once you've taken stock of how the body's feeling, what's reflecting back to you in life, how life is reflecting back to you, how life's mirroring to you, to start with energy management. So grounding, energetic protection, and perhaps getting started with some chakra work. Now, you don't need to pay a lot of money for chakra work. You can find videos on YouTube that will take you through the chakras. If you can't afford to work with a healer, just find some meditation practices to start the process of clearing blockages and traumas held within the chakras. And you can actually get started, and you can go quite far with this process just by getting the chakras firing, getting that energy flowing through the body, getting the chakras working, and that can really be a powerful step. Even to this day, I mean, you guys are probably the same. I do chakra work regularly. It is important to do that work on a regular basis.
Mark, what I just want to add is that I think I lived my life until I became ill. And that's what was being reflected back to me when I was ill, was that I lived a masked life. And so this masked life of who I was in the world had to start being peeled away. That was reflected back to me, was I lived this masked life. And I had to become raw and authentic. And I'm reminded of the story where we have to kind of, like, this woman goes down to the river, it's like a tale, and she gets the message to shed her skin. And she allows the skin to feel and drop at the river. And when she leaves, she comes back to her family, and she's got this raw appearance. And everybody's shying away from her, and they don't want to see her as she is. And so she hurries back to the river and wants to put that skin back on. And my rawness was through the illness. I had to shed that skin and not try and put that skin back on to protect myself. I had to find protection and healing and going deep within to show who I really was within me, and then take care of my energy. And the chakra work, what Mark and Cindy are talking about, is so powerful, because I remember when I started working with the chakras, I would not sense anything, not feel anything. I wasn't even sure that I had the location right. But over time, I could start to sense the shifts. I could start to sense the spinning. I could start to maybe see a color or get a sense of a color. So things change over time. And I think that's the powerful thing that we've said today, that you just need to start. You just need to set the intention to start. And as you start, things will eventually shift and change, and you will be amazed at what healing you can achieve for yourself and what a meditation practice can bring into your life.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is very clear. Lucinda's asked a really interesting question. Is how do you know, how would you know if you're with the right healer? Wow, and it's a big question, because one needs to resonate with the energy of a healer. And the thing is that there's so many variations of healing, and there's so many different people out there with different ways of being. For me, I need to, when I look for a teacher, or I look for a healer, or I look for a therapist, what is really important to me is that they can meet my value system, and I come back to my true self. So if I feel uncomfortable around anything to do with my value system and who I am, I continue looking. And I think that is the best advice that I can give to somebody. If there is something uncomfortable, I move on and find the next one.
I think that is such amazing advice. I think, you know, often they say from a therapeutic point of view, you have 3 sessions with a therapist. And I think I wouldn't give, I think with a healer, I'm able to now know for sure if this is for me or not for me.
Mm.
And I don't even believe it needs 3 sessions. I think your first interaction, make sure you're grounded and connected in your heart. And I love what we were taught at the school. Ask 3 questions. Is this for my higher good right now?
Mm.
And that first answer you get is a beautiful little whisper of a yes. If it's a no, it will feel bolder. And if you need to ask 3 times, ask 3 times. But be aware that if it's a no, don't squeeze it into the slot and say, I've got to make this work.
Mm.
Say, this is not for me right now. And then find the next person. And you will find the right healer where your energy will connect. And even as an energy practitioner, there are certain clients, and I'm sure Mark and Cindy can affirm what I'm saying, is that I feel that in this process, I'm not appropriate or the right person for them. And then I would refer them to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So from both sides, it's very important that there's this beautiful connection and that the vibration between the 2 of you works for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think when you start the process of healing, when you set an intention on healing, things start to align.
Yeah.
The right books are brought to you, the right podcasts, the right YouTube videos, all kind of seem to line up for you. And I think they're fairies in the technology.
Yes.
Because sometimes you'll just spot something on the internet that is just exactly what you're meant for. A song will come on the radio that is just what you're meant to hear. So when you start that intention, when you set that intention on healing, start to follow the signs.
Yeah.
Things will happen synchronously. You'll get a sense of what's right. Your intuition will guide you in the right direction. And you're not going to work with one energy healer your entire life because you're going to develop. The healers are going to develop. Perhaps you need to do EFT. Perhaps you need to do some TRE. Perhaps you need to work with an intuitive energy healer. You need to follow your own intuition. Now, in the early days, this is going to be difficult because your mind might be too busy for your intuition to work. And that is why you might need a few sessions for you to realize, actually, I shouldn't be working with this healer. Perhaps a different process or a different modality will be right for me. But if you can just tap into that person's energy. Now, this happens automatically. When you're looking at a healer's website, you are connecting to that healer's energy, whether you are conscious of it or not. Notice how you feel when you connect to that energy healer's energy. When you connect to their website or their Facebook page, if you look at their picture, when you read their bio, you will get a sense quite quickly of whether they are in alignment with your energy and whether whether it would be in your highest interest to work with them. So that's what I would suggest. Everything that you've said, but be aware of how you feel with their energy and follow the synchronicity, follow your intuition, and you'll be guided on the right path. Okay, guys, we are up at 11 o'clock. We need to wrap things up. Any final comments?
So I'd love to do a bit of selling, if you don't mind, with the School of Intuition and Healing on the Moyo platform. One is we have a talk on meditation on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, yeah, with Valerie and Dennis, our cameraman tonight. I wish we could get Dennis in the camera, but Dennis is also a mindfulness teacher and an EFT practitioner. And I'm going to be interviewing the 2 of them on Wednesday night on the subject of meditation. So that is really going to be an interesting discussion because they've got a wealth of experience. They've done a lot of teaching of mindfulness and meditation. And I'm going to be picking their brains and getting more tips and advice on how you can further your meditation practice and your mindfulness practice. So that's on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
And then the other thing is we have an online 7-day invincible energy course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7
So
days to invincible energy.
yeah.
Special offer. It's running online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really a 101. We've talked about that a lot. And it is our 101 course because we because we believe that's where people need to start. So please take a look at our website, and it's been fabulous to be here today. Thank you all for participating.
Yeah, thank you, guys. moyocenter.com. Take a look. We've got events every Wednesday night and many other days of the week. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a great audience.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a privilege and an honor to share some of our own experiences with you. Stay in your heart. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.